I felt so rich. I had $3,000. That was the most money I'd ever saved in my entire life. And I'm like, I'm going to get an apartment.
Hello, brains. I am on a Google Meet call right now with Stacey Michelle from ADHD is the New Black. We've had her on the channel before, but we wanted to talk this time about something that we both slightly regret agreeing to, which is how we handle money when you have ADHD.
Even the way you said money, I can tell money's a difficult topic for you.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. We have talked about money on the channel before, about how to manage finances, and those are the videos that do not get watched. And I think it's because it's such a shameful topic.
Oh my gosh. So what you're telling me is nobody's going to watch this episode. Okay.
I think a lot of people are going to watch this episode, and I will tell you why. Because those episodes were about how to manage your money and how to do things better with money. This one is going to be like, yeah, we're getting real about this struggle, and I think that's going to help with that shame. By the way, Stacey Michelle is an advocate in the ADHD community, and she is hilarious.
Stacey, have you considered that you might have ADHD?
This can be devastating news for some people.
Yes! ADHD? What?
She also just started a Patreon. If you can, go support her. Stacey is wonderful and has such a unique way of presenting this information out into the world. The reason why I wanted to chat with her today about money is because, like a lot of people with ADHD, we both struggle with money. And Stacey also has dyscalculia. For those of you who don't know what dyscalculia is, it's a learning disability that is similar to dyslexia, but with numbers, which would understandably impact her ability to manage money. So I thought it would be cool to be able to have an honest conversation about money and how ADHD and her dyscalculia affect our ability to manage it. And maybe by talking to somebody who gets it, start to let go of some of the shame we have around that. First of all, how are you feeling about having agreed to come on and talk about this?
I feel like it needs to be talked about. And if I'm going to do my stated mission of helping to encourage and empower people with ADHD, especially women, especially the parts that are uncomfortable and sticky, like finances and money, which is a thing that I struggle with, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm going to do it. This is not one of those fun and cupcakes topics.
It's not, but now I'm kind of going to buy myself a cupcake after. Wow, look how fast it happens, though. Like, look how fast I just spent money. I was just like, cupcakes. You said cupcakes. Like, let me buy some cupcakes. Okay, so I struggle with money for that reason, for the impulsivity of it, and I guess it's emotional dysregulation, too. Like, I'm sad or I'm excited or whatever, and it's just like, oh, it's just like a quick way to cheer yourself up sometimes, or to like reward yourself or whatever. For you, like what were your early experiences with money?
Okay, well, first of all, my concept of money is some and none. Okay, it's like, oh, I got some money today, or I ain't got no money today, so I often will walk into a store with an idea of how much money I have, and then I'm like, okay, I have $30 to spend. Somewhere between crossing through that barrier of the entranceway and putting my hands on a basket, I will totally forget that I have only $30 to spend, and now I'm loading up my basket full of everything that I need. No matter how much I try to do the math of what I'm putting in my basket, it's always just like, it just ends up going into the ether. It's some vague thing. But I didn't even answer your question. Your question was, what was my experience growing up? My experience growing up is I grew up with my grandparents. They grew up in the generation, you work hard, you put away your money, and you put some away for a rainy day. This is what I heard all the time. We're on a fixed income. We're on a fixed income. Oh, we can't. No, you can't have that. We're on a fixed income. What do you think? Money grows on trees? And so I don't know if that limited my idea of money or not. I never knew how much we were making. I just didn't know. I knew you had to work for money, and I've always worked very hard in my life. Like, I've had 5 jobs at one time, but it's 5 jobs at one time just to make ends meet. I had a friend who pointed out something to me one time because I had to turn down a party she invited me to. It was a birthday. And I'm like, oh no, I got to work my 2 of my jobs today. And she's like, I don't understand how you're always struggling to pay the bills. You have 5 jobs. She's like, something's wrong with this picture. And I'm like, damn, she is right. Something's wrong with this picture. But it didn't make me like, well, let me get to the bottom of this. It just made me feel like, yeah, I'm a loser. It just made me feel ashamed. And this was before, by the way, Jessica, I acknowledged my ADHD and started treating it. So, this was me still struggling.
So, okay, first of all, the moral failing, right? There's just so many terms that I've heard about money and about all ADHD struggles, right? When you don't do what adults are supposed to do in the way that adults are supposed to do them, and by that we mean most adults, neurotypical adults, there is this kind of judgment of like, you're somehow bad, as if it's a choice, I guess. Just the concept of it being a moral failing is something that I'm trying to combat, which I think is one of the reasons why I was willing to come on and talk about my own money problems, because like I am scared of being judged for this. But you were talking about something specific too with the dyscalculia. So how does that impact it for you?
As far as the dyscalculia,
It's a hard word to say.
it is.
Dyscalculia. Wait, now I forgot how to say it.
But anyway, I read about it, and the more I read about it, the more I read that it is one of those unrecognized symptoms not used as part of the diagnosis process of ADHD, but people with ADHD tend to have it more than the general population. I look at numbers and it's like my vision goes white almost. Just looking at numbers just confuses me. Number one, it gives me anxiety. And I mean, just looking at a bunch of numbers that are in the context of you need to figure something out with these numbers, or these numbers are supposed to mean something to you. You know, I hope I never witness a hit and run, because they're going to be like, what was the tag number? Like, I don't know. It was a white tag. I think it was California.
I didn't think about that, because there are numbers everywhere, right? It's not even just when we're dealing with finances, but I mean, even seeing somebody's phone number.
It's painful. It's painful because I almost feel helpless when I'm in a position to have to take care of myself. And I've always been in a position since I've been an adult where I need to take care of myself. But there are these moments when I know when it gets down to it, I can never really trust that I've got the right figures. If I've got, an accurate account of what's in my checking account, I never really have a strong sense of what I have coming in or what I have going out. And it's very painful not only because I learned or heard growing up that, I hate to bring race into this or into everything, but in our culture, you're supposed to be a strong Black woman. Nobody's going to help you as a Black woman. There are no handouts. You have to work hard for everything you have because, there are not going to be as many opportunities for you as there are for other people. So you're just going to have to work twice as hard to be just as good and to make, 70% of what they're making or 50% of what they're making. And it makes you feel like you're completely alone. Like you don't have any sort of safety net if you don't have a safety net. I've been very blessed to have a family. About a year ago, when I was trying to explain to my friend, how is it that a payment I made on my credit card was returned, because I was shocked that the payment was returned, because I'm like, there was money in my account to pay that. So what had happened was, I have a credit card from one bank, but I was paying it from another bank, and I would make electronic transfers, right? Mm-hmm. So I made the electronic transfer from this bank to cover the credit card. Well, by the time the credit card actually collected that money was no longer actually there, because I forgot I made that payment from that account and spent that money because it didn't disappear immediately. Like the money was still there. Yeah. So I need to buy groceries or whatever. And then the next week, I'm like, how is that payment returned? I paid that. There was money in my account. Things like that. And it's very frustrating, and it makes you feel bad about yourself. And it just makes you feel like you have no self-efficacy.
It's almost like this learned helplessness that happens where we're just like, I can't do this because I've just learned so often throughout my life that I'm so, that it's such a struggle for me that like I don't even trust myself to be able to handle my finances anymore. In terms of self-efficacy, like some of it is, that feeling of being dependent on other people, but some of it actually is being dependent on other people. And that can set us up for really bad situations sometimes. Like we end up in some situations where we might have to like stay in a living situation that is not okay for us, or like stay tied financially to somebody who is not treating us well. Money and credit, it's all tied together, right? I ruined my credit multiple times over the course of my life. And when that happened, I could not get basic things that I needed, right? Like a car, I had to have my mom co-sign for things. And because of that, I didn't have a sense of self-efficacy of like, cool, I can just go car shopping and like pick out a car that I want and get it. It was like I was a teenager again. So I ended up continually putting myself in situations that were not as good for me. I don't know. It's so complicated because it's not just about being broke and out of money. It's also all of the ways that impacts your life and your sense of who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, like, what, if anything, does actually work for you? Like, what do you do to manage your money? Look, you're not on the street, right? Like, you have an apartment, you pay your rent, like, you haven't had to move back home. So, I just want to point out, like, give yourself some credit. You're doing some things right, or have done some things right.
When I have goals that are very specific and very important to me, I am able to save money for it. Before I moved to New York City, I opened a savings account and just put away everything I possibly could. And I could have done better. But when I moved to New York, Jessica, I felt so rich. I had $3,000. That was the most money I'd ever saved in my entire life. And I'm like, I'm going to get an apartment. But it was $800 a month. And I realized very quickly, wow, $3,000 doesn't go far in New York. So my way of getting money to just bridge me to when I could get a job there, I had a big box of recycled, like recharged AA batteries. Huge and I just went on the subway and just sold them piecemeal, one by one, like $1 a battery. And
you sold batteries?
Yes. And the people were always looking at me like, do these actually work? And I'm like, yes, they work. They're recharged, I promise. And I sold those for like $1 a piece on the subway. And people were like, okay, I'm going to buy these from you, but they better work. You know, this was 2001. So people were like, yeah, my Walkman's going dead. I need some batteries over here, you know. So I remember coming back in one day and the lady who worked the desk at night, she was like, what have you been up to all day? And I told her, oh, I was selling these batteries on the subway, you know. And she goes, you're going to be all right. You're a survivor. And that meant so much to me that she could see that about me. And she was right. Like I was always okay in New York because I know how to hustle. I know how to work hard. I just never learned how to work smart. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I hate to say this, but the biggest gift that COVID gave to me was the fact that it took away all of my employment. And for once in my life, my adult life, I was forced to sit still and think about what I wanted my life to look like going forward, because I was always in motion, you know, trying to make enough money to cover rent, make enough money to cover my phone bill, just make enough. And it's like, I want to do better than making enough. You know, I want to be able to have some sort of sustainable foundation beneath me so I can start being a giver instead of a beggar all the time. And that is so important to me, you know?
Well, thank you so much for having this super open conversation. Let me just give you a chance to promote your stuff. Make the ask.
Hi, Jessica's Brains. My name is Stacey Michelle. I have a channel on YouTube called ADHD is the New Black. And my channel I designed specifically to address, I guess, underaddressed population of ADHD women, the BIPOC community, the Black, Indigenous, people of color, all colors though. If you're pink, please subscribe to my channel. If you're blue, red, yellow, deep berry, dark black, subscribe to my channel. If you're white as Jessica, subscribe to my channel, please. I use humor in my channel to relay some very important information about ADHD, and also I use it to encourage you because I feel like ADHD is not like 100% bad. It's not 100% bad. As a matter of fact, in my mind, it's 70% good and 30% bad. So, because all of our challenges are just the opposite side of the same coin.
You're good at getting people to talk about it, and you're good at talking about it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoy that. We're trying something new. Thank you to my brain advocates and all my Patreon brains for supporting this channel, allowing me to hire people and pay them well. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and check out Stacey's channel. I'll see you next time. Bye, brains.